Welcome to Javel Stories. Before we continue with the story, please don't forget to hit the subscribe button, turn on the notification bell to always get notified for upcoming stories, and also share the story with loved ones and friends. Thank you very much. James Westwood was a man whose life seemed to be crafted from the pages of a fairy tale. Born into modest beginnings, his sharp mind and unwavering determination built him an empire. By his 40s, he owned estates that sprawled across cities, businesses that thrived, and wealth that multiplied with every passing year. But his greatest treasure was his wife, Eleanor. Their love was a masterpiece, each moment together a brushstroke of warmth and devotion. Eleanor was the calm in James's storm, her presence grounding him amid the chaos of his success. Though they had no children, they built a life filled with joy and companionship. Their mansion was a haven, not just of luxury but of laughter and shared dreams. Mornings began with quiet walks through their sprawling gardens, where Eleanor would hum soft tunes, and evenings ended with books and tea by the grand fireplace. It was a life rich in love, deeper than the wealth surrounding them. But life's greatest joys can be fleeting. Eleanor's health began to fail one autumn, and no amount of wealth or influence could halt the inevitable. Her passing left James bereft, his once vibrant world dimmed to shadows. For years, the mansion stood silent, its halls echoing with memories of a love now gone. James withdrew from society, finding solace only in the routines he and Eleanor had cherished. His life, once full of promise, now seemed incomplete, a treasure chest missing its most precious gem. Years after Eleanor's death, James found himself at a charity gala, an event he attended more out of obligation than desire. It was there he met Annabelle, a young woman with an air of vitality and charm that seemed to light up the room. Her beauty was undeniable, her confidence magnetic. She moved through the crowd with ease, her laughter drawing attention wherever she went. For James, she was a spark in the darkness that had engulfed him for so long. Annabelle was significantly younger, her youth a stark contrast to James's seasoned years. Yet, she seemed drawn to his quiet wisdom and the stories etched into the lines of his face. Over time, their connection deepened. James, who had long thought his capacity for love was gone, found himself captivated by Annabelle's energy and enthusiasm for life. He began to believe that perhaps he could experience joy again, even if it was different from what he had known with Eleanor. Their courtship was brief, and soon they were married in a ceremony as grand as it was intimate. Friends and acquaintances whispered their doubts about the age gap, about Annabelle's intentions, but James dismissed them. He was happy, or so he thought. Annabelle embraced her new life with vigor, stepping into her role as James's wife with apparent ease. Yet, beneath her bright smile and glittering charm, there lay a secret, a connection to a man named Victor, whose presence in her life would change James's fate forever. At first, life with Annabelle brought James a semblance of peace. She filled the mansion with laughter and light, hosting dinners and organizing events that revitalized the once somber home. James found himself smiling again, though his joy was tinged with a quiet sense of detachment. He had learned to embrace life's fleeting moments, knowing how quickly they could vanish. But as the months turned to years, subtle changes began to creep into James's life. He started feeling tired more often, his energy waning in ways he couldn't explain. His hands, once steady, began to tremble, and his appetite dwindled. Annabelle, ever attentive, offered him pills she claimed would help. She assured him they were supplements to strengthen him, given his advancing age. Grateful for her care, James took them without question, unaware of the sinister intent hidden behind her kind facade. The deterioration was slow, almost imperceptible at first. James's skin grew pale, his once sharp mind became clouded, and his movements sluggish. Doctors were puzzled, running every test imaginable, yet finding no cause for his decline. Annabelle remained outwardly concerned, her actions painting her as a devoted wife. But in secret, she and Victor watched as their plan unfolded, their ambitions tied to James's slow unraveling. The mansion, once a symbol of love and resilience, became a prison where James's strength ebbed away, unnoticed by all except one, the ever-watchful eye of his sister, Margaret. Margaret Westwood had always been a woman of sharp instincts and unwavering loyalty to her family. As James's only sibling, she had been his confidant through life's trials and triumphs. Though years had passed since Eleanor's death, Margaret never stopped worrying about her brother's well-being. When James remarried, she hoped Annabelle might bring him the companionship he desperately needed. But Margaret could not shake the unease that crept into her heart as James's health began to falter. On her visits to the mansion, Margaret observed subtle but troubling signs. James, once so full of life, seemed diminished. His voice was weaker, his posture stooped, and his once bright eyes now carried a shadow of exhaustion. What struck her most was Annabelle's demeanor. Though outwardly attentive, there was something about her cheerfulness that felt forced, her concern rehearsed. Margaret noticed the little bottle of pills that Annabelle insisted James take, always presented with a smile and a touch of his arm. Margaret's instincts told her there was more to the story. She began making discreet inquiries, speaking to James's doctors and longtime staff. The results puzzled her. Every medical test showed James to be in good health. Yet his body betrayed these reports, weakening with each passing day. Desperate for answers, Margaret decided to take matters into her own hands. She hired a maid, discreetly recommended by a trusted friend, to gather more information from within the household. This maid, sharp-eyed and resourceful, was tasked with observing Annabelle closely and obtaining a sample of the pills James was taking. The maid, a woman named Clara, moved quietly through the grand halls of the Westwood estate. Her presence went unnoticed by Annabelle, who dismissed her as another unremarkable member of the household staff. Clara watched carefully, noting Annabelle's routines and how she interacted with James. She observed the almost ceremonial way Annabelle offered the pills each morning, ensuring James swallowed them under her watchful gaze. One evening, under the guise of tidying the master bedroom, Clara managed to retrieve a small sample of the pills from Annabelle's drawer. She carefully sealed them and delivered them to Margaret, who wasted no time in sending them to a trusted laboratory for analysis. The results came back within days, and they were as shocking as they were horrifying. The pills contained a slow-acting poison, designed to deteriorate the body's vital organs over time while leaving no trace detectable through routine medical tests. Margaret's heart sank as the truth unfolded. Annabelle's carefully crafted image of a loving wife shattered like glass. Determined to save her brother, Margaret contacted the authorities, providing them with the evidence needed to investigate further. In the meantime, she kept her findings secret, knowing that confronting Annabelle prematurely could endanger James even more. The day of reckoning came quietly but decisively. The police arrived at the Westwood estate under the pretense of a routine inquiry. Annabelle, confident in her charm and cunning, greeted them with her usual poise. However, as the officers presented their findings and questioned her about the pills, her composure began to crack. She tried to deny the accusations, but the evidence was irrefutable. The connection between her and Victor, her secret lover, was also uncovered through messages and financial transactions traced to him. Victor, who had been hiding in the shadows, was apprehended the same day. The pair were charged with attempted murder and conspiracy. Annabelle's betrayal was exposed to the world, her carefully constructed facade torn apart. As she was led away in handcuffs, James sat in his favorite chair, too weak to fully grasp the depth of her treachery. Margaret stood by his side, her heart heavy with sorrow and relief. Justice might have been served, but the damage to her brother was irreversible. As Annabelle and Victor awaited trial, the Westwood mansion fell into an eerie stillness. Though Margaret had uncovered the truth and stopped the poisoning, James's body had already endured too much damage. The once vibrant man who had filled the halls with his laughter and warmth now lay bedridden, his strength slipping away with each passing day. The poison had done its work thoroughly. Though doctors tried their best to stabilize him, James's organs were failing one after another. His kidneys struggled to filter his blood, his liver weakened, and his heart, already heavy with betrayal, grew frail. Margaret stayed by his side, overseeing his care, and ensuring he was surrounded by the comforts of home. The staff, loyal and grief-stricken, worked tirelessly to make James's remaining days as peaceful as possible. James's mind, though clouded by illness, seemed to understand the truth in fragments. He rarely spoke, but his eyes carried a sorrow that words could never express. Margaret knew he was thinking of Eleanor, the love they had shared, and the life he had lost. Her only solace was that she had acted in time to expose Annabelle's evil deeds, ensuring that her brother's final chapter would not be overshadowed by deception. The trial of Annabelle and Victor captivated the public. Their twisted schemes splashed across headlines and whispered about in every corner of society. Annabelle, once celebrated as the stunning young wife of a wealthy tycoon, was now seen for what she truly was, a manipulative woman driven by greed. Victor, her co-conspirator, was revealed to be the mastermind behind the plan, using Annabelle's position to gain access to James's fortune. Prosecutors laid out the evidence with precision, detailing how the poison had been carefully chosen to mimic the effects of natural aging. Testimonies from experts confirmed that the pills were designed to erode James's health slowly, making it nearly impossible to trace the cause of his decline. Clara, the brave maid who had retrieved the pills, was a key witness. Her actions, coupled with Margaret's determination, had been instrumental in uncovering the truth. The courtroom was filled with tension as the verdict was read. Both Annabelle and Victor were found guilty on all counts. They were sentenced to long prison terms, ensuring they would never harm anyone again. Yet despite the justice served, the Westwood family's sense of loss remained. No punishment could undo the damage inflicted on James or restore the years stolen from him. James passed away quietly in his sleep one crisp autumn morning. His death, though anticipated, cast a long shadow over those who loved him. Margaret arranged a private funeral, attended only by close friends and family. The service was held in the gardens James had cherished, under the same oak tree where he and Eleanor had spent many serene evenings. As the guests gathered to pay their respects, Margaret stood by the grave, her heart heavy yet resolute. James had lived a life of love and success, but it had been marred by tragedy in its final chapters. Margaret vowed to honor his memory by preserving the legacy he had built and ensuring the mansion, now steeped in bittersweet memories, became a place of charity and hope for others. The mansion staff, who had served James loyally for decades, wept openly. They spoke of his kindness, his fairness, and the quiet way he had inspired loyalty and affection. For Margaret, their words were a reminder that, despite the betrayal and pain he had endured, James's life had left an indelible mark on those around him. In the years that followed, Margaret transformed the Westwood estate into a foundation dedicated to helping those in need. The mansion, once a symbol of wealth and power, became a refuge for the vulnerable, a place where dreams could be nurtured and lives rebuilt. Margaret poured her heart into this new mission, finding healing in the work. The story of James Westwood became a cautionary tale, a reminder of the dangers of unchecked greed and the resilience of family bonds. Margaret often walked through the gardens, now filled with laughter and life, thinking of her brother. Though his life had ended tragically, his legacy endured, carried forward by the love and determination of those he left behind. For those who came to the foundation, James's name became synonymous with generosity and hope. His story, though filled with sorrow, served as a beacon, proving that even in the face of darkness, light could prevail. Margaret found peace in knowing that her brother's final chapter, though tragic, had led to a new beginning for so many others. And in that, James's spirit lived on, his kindness and love shining brightly for generations to come.